Trump is an ugly girlfriend. He's an ugly girlfriend. No matter what he does, it's going to be viewed as, so what?
Yeah. Damon Jam got the tea in the grill. Spilling true bombs, daily drip. I squad flex, yeah, I never skill. Story so fresh, let the vibe quit. Drip, drop, the news won't stop. They got the juice, rising to the
If you are interested in knowing the list, go to justice.gov/pardon, or you could just, Google who did Trump pardon in 2025? And they got a
Right.
whole extensive list. But most notably, can we talk about Larry Hoover and NBA young boy?
Let me start this.
No, go ahead.
Because what the Feezy TV know what I'm talking about? Because, yeah. I put out a post on Facebook, right? So I said, wow, they freed Larry Hoover, right? And I knew that it was it was a pity party. That man got fed time and state time. So I knew he wasn't going home, right? But you have to understand that there's a process, there's levels to this ish, as Meek Mill would say, right? And I got attacked like I was getting haymakers and uppercuts. I was ducking and dodging, but I stood tall, plain dang stood tall against all of that. Bottom line is this. What I was conveying to folks is that this man was convicted of murder in 73, y'all. 73, right? He got hit with the CCE in 77, in 1997, I'm sorry. He got hit with the continuing criminal enterprise because whatever. And bottom line is this man has done over 52 years, type 1 diabetic, insulin dependent, and has had 2 strokes since he's been behind bars. Everybody you could think of is trying to get this man out of prison because he's actually quiet some of the crime in Chicago. I've said this to politicians in Chicago. I said, are you guys benefiting from them sitting in prison? Because it sounds to me like he could be more useful outside of prison because he's totally changed his whole stance on the GD movement and all of that. He's like, look, you young boys are just out here wilding. We need to stop this. He's actually quiet a lot of beefs, right? So why not put him, first of all, Trump put forth in 2016 the First Step Act. That's freed a lot of people, right? Right? So he could have been out on a conditional parole to where they watch his every step, make sure he don't get out of pocket. They gave the man 200 years for murder. He did 52 years in solitary confinement, I might add. I don't know how much.
That's about 200 years like that. If you gotta do it like
I
that,
don't know how the hell you're gonna get in trouble being in solitary confinement. But either way it went, it was politically driven. Everyone felt this way, right? So boom. Now, like I told people people got mad when I said it, and I didn't say it on the post, but I'm like, Trump is an ugly girlfriend. He's an ugly girlfriend. No matter what he does, it's going to be viewed as, so what? You had Obama discussing Larry Hoover's case. You had Biden discussing Larry Hoover's case. You had George W. discussing Larry Hoover's case. Everybody thought that it was a bit excessive the time they gave this man, right?
Oh, but they ain't
Everybody.
had a NUTZ to do something with it, huh?
That's it. They didn't have the cashews to do it. That's it. This man said, I ain't being voted back in, so why do I give a damn, right? Why not give this man a pity party? Because he still got to do that state time. They gave him 200 years state time, right? Now the governor got to look at it and be like, were we tripping or weren't we tripping? Because now it's getting so much of a look that everybody's looking at Chicago like, this man actually could quiet some. He's older now. I mean, I don't know how much beef. I don't know how much YN activity he could slow down in his old age. But that man's sitting there with a stroke. I don't think he could throw up a sign at this point. I don't think he's throwing up his flag. I don't think he's doing any of that right now. Bottom line is, let that man come on. We did 52 years. The First Step Action of freedom. So they like, well, he was selling drugs to the community. I'm like, so is Big Meech, but he out here now. So is Rick Ross, but he out here now. Both of them healthy. Both of them, if they wanted to get back into the life, they probably could make a few calls and make it happen. I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they should. But I'm just saying this man is very, very sickly. It would hurt nobody if this man was released on a conditional parole to where they actually watch him. That's it. That's all I'm saying. But if Obama would have did it, we would have loved it. If Biden would have did it, well, he wouldn't have to do it. But Pelosi or whoever who had the stamp that was hitting the parole button on them, they would have loved it. They'd have been like, look at what Biden did. He stumbled and fell down the steps, but he freed Larry Hoover. Ain't that something? But because the ugly baby mama
he stumbled down the steps.
He might have failed. He might not have knew which way was up if you pointed to the sky. But he did free Larry Hoover. He got Larry Hoover out. Biden's my president.
Wow. Most of the people he's pardoned are people who have like conspiracy charges, is what it looks like to me. I don't know much about NBA YoungBoy's charge. I don't know much about that, but my main thing is, what'd you say?
Trump just like his music. I guess he rocks out the NBA YoungBoy.
One thing never mind. I'll wait till after the video to say it.
List of pardons granted during his second term. The latest include former New York Republican Congressman Michael Grimm, who was convicted of tax fraud, and former Virginia Sheriff Scott Jenkins, who was found guilty of accepting more than $75,000 in bribes. Reality stars Todd and Julie Chrisley, who were both convicted of tax evasion and bank fraud in 2022, were also pardoned. And then there's Larry Hoover, a notorious former Chicago gang leader who was convicted of federal drug conspiracy charges. Hoover got a commutation of multiple life sentences, but still faces 200 years in prison on state murder charges, which a president cannot commute. Alexis Coe joins us now. She's a presidential historian and a senior fellow at New America. So, Alexis, most presidents, they tend to issue pardons toward the end of their term, right? Is the timing of these notable and essentially the beginning of President Trump's second term?
Yes, it is. I mean, he has been using the power of the pardon since the moment he took office. And it's highly unusual. It usually happens in what we call the midnight hours. Sometimes, as we know from former President Biden, it happens on Inauguration Day. But it's really unusual to see pardons as a rolling thing because the political backlash is moot to Trump. That's what it tells us. Whereas other presidents wait until they won't pay the price for whoever they're pardoning, particularly if it is of a partisan need.
Well, shit, it ain't like it ain't like he gave himself a forever pardon or whatever. Like,
but he don't care no way.
It's not like he pardoned his drug addicted son that was selling secrets to the Chinese.
I was going to get to that.
It's not like he pardoned his family. It's not. It's not like a person who actually invented two drugs that was killing people. One used the AZT drug to kill people in the 80s, and then turned around and did a COVID medication, and he went on ahead and pardoned him. It's not like he gave it's not like he pardoned those people. You know what I mean? Like he pardoned people that he just felt like pardon. They weren't, they just kind of was ducking. Some of them was ducking money charges at this point. It was tax situations, Meanwhile, Fauci like this, doing the Heisman somewhere. He got his leg up. Probably some young thing who didn't get didn't get vaccinated. He's giving her a different shot, different injections. And he's still out here on this.
Is Wayne supposed to drop another some new work?
I'm pretty sure
next week.
On Mother's Day, he was like, "I'm back."
He dropping another
kid up out of my house.
Legend has it, if you be quiet enough, you hear a lighter switch, and you know he's about to drop.
I like that.
Yeah. So I don't know if we're gonna play more of the video. I don't think we need to, but I know that one of the things that people are worried about in the Diddy trial, for example, is that he may pardon Diddy, and they had asked him about it, I think maybe today or yesterday. And he was like, I'm not saying I would. I'm just saying if I think that something's an injustice and it's not right, then I'm open to possibly pardoning somebody. But They're like, oh, aren't you friends? He's like, we really ain't kicked it since I ran for president. He was not on what I'm on. So,
right.
You know, like
right.
it ain't like we homies. Like I'm not calling him at the jail, you know. Like, but it seems like from his perspective, if he sees whatever charge they have as an injustice, then he's more apt to actually pardon them. So just giving a little context to that.
I'm just saying, like with Diddy, where's all our hot oil voter die people that he was running with? Where's
they
all
trying to avoid it? They trying to avoid an indictment themselves. Everybody
That's what
quiet.
I'm saying.
It's been
all
real quiet.
We ain't gonna forget that Diddy is a Democrat. You know, we ain't gonna forget that. But even with all of that going on, because Donnie has an opinion, he like, well, I look into his case. If I feel like it was an injustice there, I'm gonna say something. Tiger, my cousin, I can say something. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Shit, we looking at the court dockets. We looking like half the people there look like it was consensual. Some of them just look like they were scared.
I don't know.
Suge Knight with oil.
We gotta go.
Suge Knight with oil. Suge Knight with oil.
We gotta do a weekly recap because I can't say it was all consensual because the thing is, it's still like we talk about the law, which the law versus how people feel or what they acted on is different than what the law. We look at the law, but
that man thought he was bigger than the program. That's all that was going on. And bottom line is, he been telling you for years what he was doing in his ad libs. That man was like, take that. That's what he been doing. He been taking.